while we were watching that video.
Thanks for that one.
You did great.
Thanks for that one. You did great. Absolutely. Very, very proud of you. But hey, this is also going to be an opportunity to see how Echo has prepared for this setup, because they already had an idea. If they're saying, hey, we're going to ban Plaguefall, there's a pretty good inkling that Aster.y is not going to ban something like Halls of Atonement. So this has to be a dungeon that Echo is prepared for by a very, very large margin. So let's see what both of these teams have in store as game number 1 of our grand finals gets going.
All right, well, this Halls, we've seen them play against each other before, and Aster won pretty clearly even. They also have the best time in the tournament so far with an 11-minute 46 clear. So that's going to be a very hard task for Echo to win this one. Aster.y definitely the favorites here, as they're already gearing up for their first pull. We do know that Echo is doing the triple shard pull, though.
Yeah, and I mean, you have to remember as well, one of the major things that Aster.y was able to do better than any other team that didn't go for the triple shard pull was deal with this very first double shard pull on the bottom left faster than anyone else. And check it out. Remember, in our hype video at the start of the day, we saw Shelley popping up to 210k, and it was like a big whoa moment. Check out ZyBB doing 270k on the exact same pull. There's no extra mobs in there. The Spiteful Shades are there too, but let's be honest, it's still cool to see that damage go that high. They are through that pull again at exactly the 1 minute mark, easily meeting that mark that they were able to beat Echo with earlier today. Echo doing great on their own time too, but remember, this is the biggest problem with that triple shard pull. There's still 2 shards alive at half HP once you've dealt with everything else, and Fragments has gone down as well to this pull with the Genji dropping incredibly low. The Thrashes are done channeling though, so most of the danger is gone for the time being, but those Spiteful Shades are still running wild on their team.
And there's just so much danger for melees on that pool. You have all of those frontals coming in, and you have all these Spiteful Shades. On top of that, you have the Thrash casts from those shards coming out. And this pool is just taking a bit too long for Echo. As another Thrash cast is coming out, but both of those shards. Fragment's going down one more time, and Zalia goes going down too. Those shards are really low, but they just keep dying over and over. They're losing a lot of time just from those deaths alone. And look at Aster.y, they're already done with their 3rd shard almost. Once that shard is set, they can pull that Tormentor. And yeah, that triple shard pull just not working out great for Echo.
I mean, this is the problem I have with leaving Halls open against Aster.y. Aster.y is lights out in this dungeon. They haven't really made that much of a mistake in this dungeon the entire weekend. In addition to having the fastest times in this dungeon while actually playing it safe, they could probably go a good 15-20 seconds faster if they played it as fast as they really needed to, but they've never been pushed to have to go for it. Remember, earlier today, when Echo and Aster.y faced off in this dungeon, they were at the exact same percentage on Halkias when both teams got to it, and that was the point at which Echo started making mistakes and letting Aster take the lead. If Aster already has a lead going into Halkias, they're just going to run away with this match.
Yeah, I think so as well. It's going to be all on Aster.y, because Echo is not too far behind when it comes to like where they are in dungeon, but they have those 20 seconds penalty from those deaths. So that's going to be a lot of advantage for Aster.y in such a quick dungeon. This is a sub 12 minute clear that Aster.y can do here, and 20 seconds in a sub 12 minute dungeon means a lot. So now they are gathering up this pool here on top of the boss. This is another dangerous one. We've seen some teams have mistakes here and deaths because you have to deal with all of those. Like basically, you have a lot less room, of course, because you have to be in the circle of Halkias. But then you also have all of those Spiteful Shades spawning, and at the same time, you have to dodge the beam from the boss. So very, very difficult to execute properly.
Also important to remember, the placement of the glass shards were something that killed clicks earlier on in this same matchup earlier today. So making sure you get the boss away from the initial glass shards you put on the ground is incredibly important to give yourself as much room to kite around those Spiteful Shades once they start spawning here, and the boss does his laser beams. And check out the movement here from Aster.y. Not only are they getting away from the shards they put on the ground, giving themselves ample space to kite around, but Hanwha is also just dodging all of the extra damage from the trash that they still have alive. In addition to that, they are also kiting away from those Spiteful Shades, giving themselves so much room to kite as much as they need to. Frost Nova also helped from Xingqian as well, and, you know, Groundskeepers you want to eventually follow over here too. And check out the advantage for Aster.y here now, 20% ahead on Halkias. They were tied with Echo at this point earlier today. 20% boss damage in a level 22 dungeon is nothing to laugh at. And they're also through all of their trash, whereas Echo still have to finish off the rest of it here.
Yeah, Aster.y doing a really good job, but they're really out of defensive tools now on their tank. No cheat death available, the Leon Hands has been used as well, so they have to get this pulled down quickly before they're running out of defensives and maybe a tank going down. But the boss is dropping lower and lower, they should be able to finish this off in just a second. Then they have to wait for these Spiteful Shades to disappear before they can move on to Echelon. Echo is right on their heels, to be honest, 15% on the boss. So if there's a mistake that Aster.y makes, then Echo can come back in this game. But Aster.y, they're so fast and they're so clean in this dungeon too. Actually, they've played this dungeon 3 times and they had 0 deaths in all of their runs. They're so clean in their hulls.
I mean, just even the movement in between bosses, making sure they do things as quickly as possible, right? In order to kill Echelon, you have to spawn him as quickly as possible, so you can't start doing damage to him until somebody clicks on the door. When your group is the fastest one at getting to the door, the mage, the shimmer into the soul shape instantly to click the door and get knocked back, saving several seconds on the board there. Those seconds could be important later on. And check out the boss damage opening they've opened up. They were 20% ahead on Helkias, now they are 35% ahead on Echelon.
Yeah, so much damage coming out of Aster.y here. They're also doing that riskier strategy where they're not killing off the Stone Fiends. They just let them respawn to get the extra targets there for the Warlock to be able to just reset the Infernal quicker. And look at the Ice Block just being used to get rid of that stun, basically, and using the Dispel on somebody else to make sure that no one or that fewer people are getting stunned so they can get more damage onto the boss. And Echo is trying to catch up, but it's just going to be so hard for them. They're trying their best, but Aster.y on a perfect Halls run is just really hard to beat.
It really is. I mean, these guys have been, we can't overstate this too much. This is their home ground, their home turf. These guys have been lights out on this dungeon, and they're continuing that streak here. I mean, technically, even though Echo have the better class, I mean, the Necrolord Warlock should technically do more damage in this first section of the dungeon than the Night Fae Warlock. They are still behind just because they couldn't quite get that 3-shard pull to work properly, and it just went wrong for them. I mean, we saw a really good scenario for Echo earlier today where they were able to make that 3-shard pull work, but man, it just seems like too much can go wrong there.
Yeah, definitely. And this is really a pull where you need to make up so much time. And if something goes wrong, and then you also have that Guardian Druid for the rest of the dungeon now. You don't have the Chaos Brand that Aster.y provides for their magic damage increase, and it's just a disaster all around, as Echo is now also gathering up that pull that Aster.y is already on. Aster.y usually does pull that Stoneborn, while Echo is skipping both of them to have the double Stoneborn for the mini-boss. So Aster.y having a little bit more damage here and having a little bit of a damage reduction as well for this one, while they are going to have to commit their Ashen onto that mini-boss to be able to go through that, because they only have 1 Stoneborn. But they also have the Collector, you can see, the seat in that corner. They're going to get that in just a second. But look at all of these Spiteful Shades being scattered across the room, and some Houndmasters up too. Aster.y actually not having such a clean pull here.
Yeah, not exactly the cleanest execution here. These Spiteful Shades are being kited around the room, but part of the reason this is happening is because they want to leave that Collector alive as long as possible. They'll cleave down these 2 Houndsmasters with their Havoc Chaos Bolts from the Warlock, but they're going to keep that Collector alive as long as possible so that it can get these Collect Sin channels off. Every single one of those channels that goes off without getting randomly interrupted by somebody in your group is extra combo points for your rogue, is extra Frozen Orb cooldown reduction for your Frost Mage. It's just extra funnel single target for the boss, and these guys are crushing it right now. Once those Houndmasters go down, there's no reason to just not let those Sins go off, and they're doing a great job of it right now, just giving themselves a little bit extra funnel damage on the boss.
Yeah, they definitely are doing a good job, but look at Echo. They actually are catching up. Yeah, they are catching up in single target damage here. As they're only 6% behind at this point on a 45 dungeon. That's not too much. And look at that, they do have those 2 Stoneborns alive. One of the Stoneborns already really low HP. They don't want to finish this one off. This is actually going to cost them a bit of time, because they might want to just hold on to some of the abilities to make sure that the Stoneborn doesn't die. So they might be losing some damage here in the boss. But yeah, now they are going to be getting that second one in, and they have 2 Stoneborns on Echo's side, while Aster.y only has 1. So we'll see what happens here with that mini boss.
Let's see, are Aster.y going to commit the Ashen Hollow here again? It is off cooldown. They didn't have it up for that last boss, and there it is. The Ashen Hollow does come out from the healer on the Holy Paladin here, so they are committing it to Inquisitor Cigar just for safety to make sure this goes through. But that is one extra tool that Echo has in their back pocket to give them a little extra single target damage on the boss. The Ashen Hollow will be available for the final boss for Echo. They'll probably end up using that when the Wings comes back off of cooldown in 2 minutes, since Xaylia has committed that here. Man, it's just, I wonder if that's just the consistent play for them, because that they've had issues with Cigar healing in the past, but that is something that could be faster for Aster.y should they choose to, but still, the advantage is growing for Aster.y. Cigar already down for them, and you have to remember those 4 deaths from Echo are going to be costly. They have to kill this boss 20 seconds faster than Aster.y in order to take this first game of the series.
Yeah, but Echo, they are engaging that boss only a few seconds after Aster.y, and they have those extra cooldowns. So this might actually be a lot closer than what we thought at the start. After those 4 deaths from Echo, somehow they clawed back so much time from those 4 deaths to now, and now they have that advantage from the Ashen. And they also have the Bloodlust, so that's going to be one of those really big cooldown usages of the Paladin. Ashen always does a lot of damage, but whenever you have that Bloodlust additionally, it's going to do even more. So we'll see how much damage they can get up here, but Aster.y popping their cooldowns now, and they're going to be just melting this boss on their side as well.
The Bloodlust looks like it's used just to get full usage out of it here. I guess the reasoning for using it this early is that you get the Infernal off of cooldown faster so that you actually get all 30 seconds of the Infernal usage on the boss, otherwise you wouldn't quite get it. Yes, your Rogue does have Shadow Blades, but that's not too big of an issue. They are talking single target, but I don't think the Lust is too big of a deal for them. It's just nice to have. But I feel like you aren't just using it for the Shadow Blades, but Xingshin has gotten hit by a pillar. The pod is procced. That's 10 seconds where he's doing literally 0 damage, whereas Icy Veins is ticking down. That Icy Veins might not come back off cooldown on this boss because of it. That is a big single target loss for them once the Icy Veins runs out. Is that going to be enough for Echo to come back? We have to keep an eye on the cooldown usage. The Ashen Hollow is down in the Bloodlust for Xaylia. The Wings will be coming off cooldown in a moment here, but Xaylia's out of mana. He has literally no mana to even do damage with. Look at that mana bar.
Yeah, that's actually such a big problem for Xaylia here. That is so unfortunate. 0 mana, even though Echo is doing a lot of damage here, but for 20 seconds difference as well. And the no mana on Xaylia, that Ashen is really not helping them out whatsoever here, as Aster.y is getting lower and lower in the boss. Their damage has been slowing down a little. Echo actually catching up. Look at that. Echo might be killing the boss earlier even. Yes, they do. But the 20 seconds difference is going to mean that Aster.y wins this after all.
Wow. This is a dungeon we go into it saying Aster.y has the favor. They have the advantage into it. Echo doesn't ban it anyway. Tries to go in there and beat them at their own game and comes really close to being able to do so, but those deaths that they had very early on just sunk it for them. So Aster.y going up in the series 1-0 at the moment, Dranos.
Yeah, worth noting that was about 30 seconds slower than Aster.y's best run of this dungeon, so had there been a no-death run from Echo, I think it could have been competitive with that, because certainly, I mean, if they hadn't died, just the death differential alone would have made it good enough for a win in that game.
That's a very good point, and, you know, we were looking at just a number of times where we're pressing these teams to be as consistent and as close to perfection as possible, and it's such a huge challenge to be able to pull off at so many points throughout because there's so much stress on the team. I mean, just look at all the spites just running amok there, Nagura, on the early pulls.
Yeah, I mean, it's just such a difficult pull for Echo to do with those triple shards. And then you have so many shades running around, and especially for melees, right? Fragments going down there, that is something that I've kept talking about in halls. And I'm pretty sure that's why some of the teams are not running a melee at all. That's why they play with this Shadow Priest, Frost Mage, and the Destro Warlock, because that dungeon is scary for melee in general, and then you have Spiteful on top of that. There's just so many things going on at the same time.
There really are. And Dranos, let's start breaking down some of those pulls there. What do you think it was that Aster was losing some extra time on compared to their best run?
Yeah, so let's start off by talking about that wipe from Echo, because this, I mean, well, not the wipe, but the deaths, right? The deaths from Frag in this first pull. You can see just how scary it is and how cornered you get, right? When you're in this little platform, there are a lot of directions you can't walk, so if you're being targeted by Spiteful Shades, there's just really nowhere to go. And so you end up kind of getting farmed a little bit depending on how things work out here. When players start dying, Spiteful Shades start retargeting as well. Things start to become very hectic here. So they're able to make this pull still work out. You can see Clicks doing a completely absurd 20 million total damage to this pull. That is a lot of damage, but still so much time lost here. Ooh. So many resources committed. Frag jumping off there again off at the side. I wasn't quite sure why that was. Maybe dropping combat with something or something like that. Anyways, once we then do get to these last 3 bosses, we're going to start these clips actually at the same time in the dungeon for each of the teams. So you can see, on pull here, Echo they pulled the boss there around 80-90% was when we started that clip. Aster already having the boss in that 65% range just based off of that time, but still a pretty small advantage to have given how disastrous the start of the dungeon was for Echo, right? And as we got later and later into these further boss fights, now we're switching over. Echo 36% on this third boss is the number to keep in mind, as they did such a great job of managing things here. A little bit of difficulty, actually. That Loyal Stoneborn ends up taking a little bit too much cleave, and they have really tough time making sure that they don't accidentally cleave it down too hard here. A little bit worrying, but you could see when Echo had it at 36%, Aster 27%, right? So they've closed that gap in terms of health, and they actually... that gap in terms of health, completely possible for Echo to overtake there. The problem is just those 4 deaths adding 20 seconds of death timer. That alone is enough to make the difference at the end here. But you can see, when Echo pulling this boss, Aster basically had just pulled it as well. And Echo get into this boss, they are going to get their Ashen Hallow back, right? They're going to have Hallow, Lust, Wings, Infernal, Shadow Blades, right? They're going to have that combo for huge damage when they actually press those buttons, multiplying together. Whereas Aster, on the other hand, when they get to this boss, they kind of just fire off the Bloodlust. Rather than using it with all their cooldowns, they sort of are just pressing their cooldowns on cooldown, which is normally the strategy I endorse in a dungeon, to just do that, and it's usually not that wrong. But in this case, I do think you're losing out on some efficiency by not holding, since you're only going to get one more use anyways of several of those cooldowns. And then, of course, we have some danger coming out on this fight as well. Not a fight that is actually free for DPS players, right? There's a lot of mechanics that you do need to look out for, you need to dodge, and it can be kind of hard to tell where exactly those different statues are going. So we end up seeing Qingshin actually going into a pod a little bit later than there in that fight, which caused a little bit of a further DPS slowdown for Aster. That meant Echo killed that boss first, about the 20 seconds. 20 seconds.
That's right. Yeah, I mean, the seed also stopping, the potential of having those deaths and everything. Man, 8.6% of people predicting an Echo versus Aster finale in the Echo pick'ems there. Wow, I thought I'm very curious to see. I don't think there's any perfect brackets at this point, but I'm curious to see if there's any that are a couple dungeons off or a couple a one team off or something like that. That would be amazing. But the zombie extermination really came for those Echo brackets with a vengeance, Nagura. How's your score doing, by the way?
Well, I don't want to talk about
it. Oh! Mine didn't get saved, so I don't have to worry at all about it. It's great. But we are ready to roll here. Let's get into it. Game number 2 getting started here in theater.
Oh, boy.
All right, so let's look at the theater. I do think this is... Yeah, they've also played this dungeon against each other before, right? So this is back-to-back dungeons that they've already played against each other before. And in this one, I would say Echo is the clear favorite because they have run this dungeon twice, and both times they had a 0-death run, 16 minutes 59, and then they beat their own best time by 16 minutes 57. While their best time for Aster was 17:32. So I would say Echo is the favorite here, but Aster.y, if they have a clean run, their time should be really close.
Congrats to our observer on the 3 Choose 1 achievement. You've seen teams killing the last boss at different times. Well done. But, I mean, Jude, I don't know what it is about Clicks, but it seems like he is just the god of Dance of GG procs. This dude just always seems to be doing more damage than every other Windwalker monk. Kind of insane. I mean, it reminds me of going back to the old Season 2 BFA days where there were just rogues that managed to get 6 buffs more often than every other rogue, and there was no telling why they did it. Maybe it was because they had 2 R's in their name. You just never know.
Yeah, I mean, never forget that 6 buff. That is something that was like a sore spot with our rogues, and whenever I mention it, they got like physically like upset about being unlucky with that 6 buff. Either way, Echo is now engaging Baruth with those Shackled Souls. Aster.y doing the exact same thing. Aster.y 9 seconds slower actually in the first boss. Probably because of Click's buffs, who knows? But yeah, 9 seconds difference, that is gonna be quite a lot for the rest of the dungeon here for Aster.y to make up.
I mean, we have a very, very recent memory of how this dungeon went for both teams. Echo played a perfect Theater of Pain, was able to get it down in the fastest time we'd seen all weekend, matching their time from earlier in the weekend, pretty much. And then Aster.y just had so many small mistakes happening over the course of the entire dungeon. And to be honest, Aster.y really hasn't had that much time to work on those mistakes. I would imagine after they lost to Echo, they would have gone out and practiced the matches for the previous match against Ambition, not the dungeons for this matchup. So, I mean, they have a good strategy. The fact is, can they keep those things in mind that they made mistakes with last time around and work on that from here? Like, for instance, Onwell remembering, I need to have a heroic leap charge whenever we get to the Zav Wing so that I can skip past that third mini-boss, making sure people just don't die to random extra damage. They just have to play it perfectly, because last time around, they were faster on the first boss than Echo. This time around, they're going to have to play catch up right from the get-go.
Yeah, that's not a good sign to be behind from the very start already. Echo is, but Aster.y actually making up quite a lot of time on this pull somehow. Echo now being done and Aster.y only being like 1 or 2 seconds behind. So they made up some seconds here at least between the first boss on this. And now they're going to be dealing with those mages. And we do know that they have a different strat here. Aster.y finishing off one of the mages first, the one that got purged by the hunter, and just bolstering the other mage. But the reason why they do this is because the shield from the other mage is gone at this point. But Echo decides to do the other strategy, where they just nuke through the shield, basically, from the mage that did not get dispelled by Gingy, to make sure that none of them get bolstered. But it looks like they killed them pretty evenly.
Yeah, I mean, looks like Aster.y has made up a little bit of that ground here. Echo's still a tiny, tiny bit ahead, but the ground is being made up from Aster. We know they also like to pull a little bit of extra trash percentage in this section of the dungeon too, so let's see how that goes for them this time around. Last time around, Echo was able to catch up and take the lead on the next platform, just due to great procs of Dance of Gingy from Clicks. Let's see if they can get that happening again. Looks like both teams have completely destroyed this first pull. Echo, of course, going to go to the next platform. Aster.y opting to choose to deal with this Shackled Soul Pack instead for a little bit of extra percentage.
Looks like Gingy got some procs of GG there on his Marksman Hunter, as he was completely destroying that pack there. And now Echo using those CCs on those mages to make sure they get that higher HP mob lower, the Bone Reaver. And whenever the Bone Reaver is a bit lower, they're going to be pulling all of those mages together. This is actually a pretty dangerous pull, because they need to be gathered up so quickly. You can see Gingy just silencing the mobs on the left side, while also using the knock here to get the mage in. And still not all the way stacked though. And it looks like a stun by Stalia interrupting that Bone Spear in the last second. But yeah, these threats are not stacked, and it's bolstering, so they're losing quite a lot of time here, because those mages, look at that, one of the mages still high HP, having a bunch of bolster stacks.
Yeah, not the cleanest we've seen them execute that. Aster.y, on the other hand, opting to gather in everything all on top of each other at once. They're abusing and using all of their AoE stuns. The Shockwave and Leg Sweep have been used. They're using that Spear of Bastion and Ring of Peace combo to make sure nothing casts. And Aster.y this time around have dealt with the pack so much faster than Echo. They have finished it off and are moving to the same platform as Echo with the extra count. And you have to remember, that extra count lets them skip the bridge patrol later on in the next section of the dungeon that Echo has to wait for the patrol timing of and pull in. So Aster.y will be able to secure an advantage from this if both teams play cleanly here.
Yeah, this is actually very interesting. Aster.y just gaining a second here and there by doing the trash a bit more efficiently and dealing with bolstering better. And yeah, in that Gore Chop pull without the bridge patrol, that means they're going to be doing that pull a lot quicker. One more thing to note though is that Aster.y is going to be pulling in some more Shackled Souls onto the boss. So that means that they're going to take a little while longer there. And somehow Echo dealt with that platform a little bit quicker as well, as they're already on their way to the boss.
Yep, I mean, this is so much closer than the last time around these teams were here. I mean, Echo had a much, much bigger lead going into this boss. They were something like 20 or 30% ahead on the boss. This time around, Aster.y is keeping it close, not making those mistakes yet, and I believe I'd say they even have a slight advantage because they don't have to worry about the patrol timing for the next massive AoE pull that they're going to be doing in the Gore Chop wing. That's such a big advantage for Aster.y. The thing is, can they capitalize on it? Can they stay close enough to Echo here in single target boss damage that it's that extra trash pull was worth it for them?
Yeah, that's going to be the question. Echo not going to be pulling any Shackled Souls here. Either they're just nuking the boss completely, but Echo has to save the Ashen because they're going to be doing that more dangerous pull later where they need the Ashen, while Aster.y are going to be doing the easier pull later and therefore they can commit the Ashen for the boss. So you can see they're now catching up. Aster.y now ahead on boss DPS because they have that extra cooldown here. You can look at the damage from the Paladin coming out, just an insane amount of DPS. They're going to have to deal with those Shackled Souls, but they have the Ashen down, so that means that a lot of the damage is still going to be done to those souls. They just need to make sure that no bolstering is happening here.
Yeah, I mean that's just that's another advantage of the thing that Aster.y is doing with their strat here. They don't have to save the Ashen for the next big AoE pull because their pull is smaller than Echo's. Echo has to save that Ashen Wings combo for the next pull, otherwise it's going to be really difficult for them to get through it. They have to be much smarter about their bolstering as well. Aster.y was able to just gain extra trash percentage here and kill the boss even faster than Echo and secure themselves an even bigger advantage here. They're going to be 5 or 6% ahead on trash count here, and they have the boss down first.
Yeah, they still have to deal with those 2 Shackled Souls. Echo is going to be doing that pull quicker. They're going to be there a couple of seconds faster, but it's going to take them longer to execute this pull because of those 3 extra trash mobs. And it's also going to depend on the bridge patrol timing. It looks like they are coming towards them now, so that's a little bit better for them as it was last time. There we go. Echo is gathering up that pull. Aster.y doing the same thing without the bridge patrol. So Aster.y having a little bit of an easier pull here. Echo committing the Ashen Hollow. Butcher coming in pretty late. You can see they have to focus all of their damage onto the Butcher to make sure that it's going to be even with that bolstering. And they also need to make sure that they're interrupting all of the casts from the Slash Spears and also from the Butcher. And look at Aster.y, they're already done with their pull, and they can move on to the next trash pack. Aster.y having a pretty significant lead at this point.
I mean, this is just opening up like crazy here. Aster.y not having to worry about focusing that Butcher down is such a big deal with the bolstering affix here. I mean, they finished that pull probably a solid 20 seconds before Echo. Man, I mean, the one major thing for Aster is just, can they keep it clean here? Can they not bolster mobs? They had an issue with this gas bag here last time around. They let it bolster way too many times. Let's see if the focus is there for them.
Yeah, let's look at that pull as the gas bag needs to be focused with the high HP mob in that pull, and they also need to make sure they interrupt all of those shields and the Butcher cast as well. And the last time the Slash Spear was pretty high, but it looks like this time it's a lot lower for them. But the gas bag actually getting quite a few bolster stacks here for Aster. They need to make sure that the gas bag is getting a bit lower because that AoE ticking on the whole group is going to do more and more damage. The Horror also got a shield through, so they're going to have to DPS through that. But look at how much damage they're taking! Oh my goodness, the gas bag is now down. They thankfully didn't have any deaths here, but yeah, Echo already done with this. Oh my goodness, Echo dealt with this pull so much cleaner. They made up all of this time again that they lost on the previous pull. This is just a back and forth between those 2 teams. One team doing one pull cleaner and then the other team doing a pull cleaner. This is crazy.
Clix was just saving those Dance of GG procs, banking them up for that specific pull. If you looked at the damage meters side by side for both teams there, Clix was doing 65k DPS on that pull. ZyBB on the other side for Aster.y was only doing like 30k. That is such a big difference. They both used their cooldowns there. I guess Zai is just not talented enough to bank his GG procs for one pull over the course of the dungeon. Really unfortunate to see, but that has brought us to a dead even heat. Both teams on roughly the same trash percentage, both teams at 50% on Gourd Chop. We are more than halfway through the dungeon here, Nagura, and this is too close to tell.
And this is incredibly close. We'll see how to deal with this boss. It can be pretty dangerous because you have those 2 mobs as well. You have the Horror and the Butcher they have to deal with here. They cannot kill them because then the boss is going to get bolstered, but they still want to just cleave them down evenly, and they have to deal with all of these mechanics from the boss at the same time, dodging those chains and the AoE from the boss. also the pools on the ground, and then you have all of these ads jumping around, doing a lot of damage onto the whole group. So just a lot of things going on here at the same time. Looks like Echo has quite a bit of a lead on Gorchop's HP, because of course they did reach the boss a few seconds earlier. Look at the boss splits too. You can see the advantage here. First Echo 9 seconds faster, and then the other way around. Aster 9 seconds faster in the second boss split, and now we're gonna see what the difference is on the third boss split in a second.
Man, they're just trading blows here. Echo 10 seconds faster on the first, like you said. Aster 20 seconds faster on the second. Echo back into the lead here with a 30-second advantage on the third boss. It's all going to come down to the Zav Wing. How can these teams deal with the mini-bosses? Last time around, Aster.y made a huge mistake. Anwo didn't have a heroic leap charge up available to skip that third mini-boss. I can guarantee you, having played with this guy in the past, he will not make that same mistake twice. This is just going to be an all-out DPS race, almost a pure single-target DPS race, if there weren't these Arbalest patrols that the teams had to deal with.
Yeah, and last time Aster.y actually having some trouble there, because unfortunately their Hunter has been targeted by all of these bleeds, and Hunter just having very few things to actually survive this, not having Turtle available at that point, almost cost them a death there, but ended up not happening, so we'll see what happens. Look at Sally dropping incredibly low, just dropping to 2% as he managed to recover there. And another thing to note, Salia this time holding on to the Ashen. Last time Salia did use it here, and this time he was holding on to it, but Aster.y actually committing it.
I mean, Aster.y did commit it to that pull, but Echo just still has it available for this pull, which I think is far more dangerous. You have the double Arbalest that you have to worry about. Those jagged quarrels and shots on your team can do so much damage. Look at this time around. I really want to focus in on how these teams are line of sighting. Echo has to go all the way back up to the stairs, but check out where Aster.y chooses to line of sight. They use this pillar right next to the bridge, and if they're able to pull it off, this is such a nice time save in terms of movement. Have to keep an eye on Quaking, though. It can be very dangerous here, but looks like they've pulled it off. Both teams have gotten into their line of sight, but it looks like Aster.y is able to get their damage out a little bit quicker because of where they line of sighted here.
Yeah, but Haruja is still pretty high for them, actually. So they have to get the mini-boss quite a bit lower, while Echo is Haruja almost dead already at this point. So looking pretty clean for Echo as they're now finishing off the Arbalest. And let's see if they can do the skip to the boss now. The captain still succeed here. They now have to skip that mini-boss to go to Xav, because they don't want to deal with this mini-boss. They have the trash they need. Aster.y now also finishing off their pull as well. Now let's see if Anwar does have that leap charge ready.
Let's see. I mean, again, on that pull with no cooldowns on either of the Windwalkers, Click's still managing to put out double the damage that ZyBB was able to do. Looks like they did have the heroic leap this time around. The Door Shadows coming out. Both teams are going to be getting in combat with Zav the Unfallen within 10 seconds of each other with a slight advantage to Echo. The rest of this dungeon is going to come down to a pure single target DPS race. They're going to have to deal with Zav the Unfallen. They're going to finish off this final Ancient Captain. Both teams have CC'd off in the corners. They can deal with it after the boss. And then it's going to come down to a pure blast race on Mordretha afterwards with the Bloodlust available. I mean, the cooldown allocation is similar across the board. Yes, the Ashen's going to come up earlier for Aster.y, but they'll still both get one more usage of it in this dungeon. It is going to be really close, but problems for Aster.y as Xingshin goes down as his teammates get chained. His healer is going to have to get a res off, and that means he's not doing any damage.
Yeah, this is actually such a problem for Aster, because this is so close between those two teams, and they were already, like, I would say, a handful of seconds behind, and now they have those extra 5 seconds on the board because of the death, and of course also the damage that they lost. So this is going to be so much closer now, as Echo is getting lower and lower on Xav. You can see all of those banners, the oppressive banners, they're just slowing them, because no one's actually focusing them. They're just leaving them up and trying to dodge the area of denial from Xav with movement abilities. There we go, Echo now finishing off the boss. You can see Sally is already on his way to proc the RP in the last boss, while the rest of the team is killing off this captain.
The cooldown's committed from Xingshin to finish off the boss here. That is the true shot down. It's not going to be available till the end of the final boss here. Gingy does have his available for the initial burst off on the boss. I mean, I feel like that is still a great usage of it from Xingshin, knowing if he uses it right now, he's going to get 2 more uses, but that is a big advantage in terms of burst damage for Echo that have that available. I mean, Echo is just firmly in the lead here, easily having at least a 15 or 20 second advantage. Remember, this isn't too bad of a thing for them to have to finish off this Ancient Cap in here. They did have someone go upstairs and start the RP, but still, the RP was started way earlier for Echo. They're about to engage the final boss. Aster.y isn't even close.
Yeah, Echo are going to be fighting the boss in just a second. They are going to be waiting for some of the cooldowns to come back up. Rogue cooldowns and also the Ashen is not available just yet. They also have to kill that trash in the corner too at the entrance that they just left up there. So 3 more mobs they have to deal with, and they have to deal with Mordretha. But that boss is just going to be dying so fast. It is +20, so the lowest key that we have in this global final, and it's also fortified. So that boss's HP is just going to be melting as soon as everyone is committing their cooldowns.
Yeah, I mean, that's the advantage for Echo right there. They've secured themselves 20% on the boss. Is it going to be enough? Remember, both teams still have to deal with trash at the start. It's being pulled in early from Echo here. You really have to make sure you don't cleave this too much here, because if you cleave it too much, you'll end up bolstering the boss. So they're just getting passive cleave onto them with the Hunter cooldowns that Genji was saving. Shington doesn't have his for another 20 seconds. Echo's lead is just opening up now 40% ahead on the boss. It looks like Echo is going to be taking this game 2 with, again, another perfect run in Theater of Pain. 0 deaths on the board for them with Mordretha going down, the trash going down. That's going to be a game 2 victory and tying our series up at 1-1.
Echo taking that big win, not too far off from their best time previously, as they are, like you said, going to tie up that series. And this is a great shot in the arm for Echo, as they don't want to be falling too far behind their opponents here. And this is also a dungeon that they knew. They think that the order is going to be favorable to them, and the order of the dungeons that are left remaining. And right now, they're proving it as they tie up the series, Dratnos.
Yeah, there it is. Echo 1-1, evening up the series. I do think Theater was a dungeon where they were maybe slightly favored in, although from the start of this dungeon, I actually liked a lot of the decisions that Aster was making, and certainly, I mean, very close here at the end. We have actually about 30 seconds separating these two teams, but, I mean, this thing was neck and neck the whole way through.
It really was, and it was looking at, like, where they would best be able, like, even leaving, like, Koltharok, for example, to grow. We were looking at just basically just running side by side throughout the dungeon. If only we could see like a little shadow or something like that, just to be able to see like where the other team is at or something like that. But it was ridiculous to look at how close they were for much of the dungeon.
Yeah, it was incredible. They just went back and forth, and it was always just like a 5 to 10 seconds difference between those two teams. And until the very end, until Xav when their hunter went down there, and that's just such a you feel like one little mistake, it didn't even cost them that much time either, right? It was really just a 5 seconds penalty. The rest went out immediately from their paladin, and the fact that you end up losing because of that, it happens, right? In the global final, grand final, when you play against Echo that has a perfect run, then you can't have any of those mistakes.
That's right. Let's zoom in on it as well. Dratnos, what do you got for us in the highlight reel?
Yeah, so let's talk about some of the ways these pulls were different. Of course, Aster grabbing a little bit more trash, and then you can see they're actually doing this commitment of Ashen Hallow damage cooldowns onto Koltharok. That's because they have more trash already, and they're going to pull some Shackled Souls even into Koltharok here. They're going to snap them in and just be careful of bolstering. Whereas Echo, on the other hand, need to hold on to that Ashen Hallow because they're fighting those 3 mobs on the bridge. Even with that, this pull actually, even with the Ashen Hallow, it's a lot more complicated, and it requires a lot more precision when you have mobs coming in late and the bolstering affix. So when you compare that to how quickly Aster were able to make short work of this pull just by ignoring that bridge and getting the count elsewhere, I actually really like the way that Aster planned their cooldowns and used them in the first part of this dungeon as compared to what Echo did here. But where Echo really gained was in the area below this, near Gorechop. Once Aster got through to that area, okay, actually, so here's Aster doing that pull I was just talking about that Echo just did. This is Aster doing it without the Ashen Hallow, but without the bridge pull. And you can see they actually are killing this thing so quickly. They're basically just AoEing fully because the little mobs don't bolster. And then once they get to this point, hey, there's only 4 enemies left, right? This is not like they've been inefficiently dealing damage to them. Their target capped classes still effectively dealing damage to those, and everything working out just fine. And I mean, night and day how much more quickly they were able to get that one done. And you just have to shroud and skip these things. It's a little bit of a pain to skip them, but it is definitely well worth it. But then we get to this downstairs area. Look how much danger. Look how how rough this pull ends up going here for Aster as these Quake overlap as they're trying to dodge these mechanics, and watch the health bars start to be just in a lot of danger as they start moving towards the end of this pull. Bolstering stacks start being applied to everything. Everybody's just sort of rotting down, and that gas bag is the last mob left standing with the bolstering stacks. You really want to try and prioritize killing that first, but look at those AoE ticks on the whole group. The entire group dropping there. Lay on Hands needs to come out on Anuo to keep it from being a wipe. Very well managed to not be a wipe. Normally against most teams, you're just happy whenever that happens and you don't wipe. But against Echo, they did that pull cleanly. So even though you managed to not have it be a disaster there, you lost time. And then Qingxin gets sniped by the boss here. That is an extremely costly end to an otherwise very close dungeon. That death likely counts for the lion's share of the 30 seconds that ended up separating these teams at the end. Echo able to kill this boss. Those huge Prot Warrior spell reflects on the Reaping Scythe, of course, something both teams have access to. Incredible short work is made of Mordretha. Beautiful timing of the ads dying, or the mobs dying, the trash mobs, for the last little bit of count as well. Right at the end, perfect bolstering management there.
It really was, and it just goes to show how tight a lot of these dungeons can be between the teams. And, that frontal, for example, can kind of just target anybody. So when it starts targeting the hunter after they've used all their movement speed, maybe he waits 1 extra second or half a second to be able to move out of the way or something at first, and it's just disastrous what can occur when you're going up against a team that can play so incredibly cleanly. So next 3 dungeons we have coming up is going to be Wake, Spires, and if we get to it, Sanguine Depths on this one. And we do have a slightly faster time here in Necrotic Wake on the side of Aster.y. There's Zyro, but do you give just a slight advantage to it, or do you think that they're going to get this one for sure?
I mean, it's hard to give either team an advantage right now. I think in terms of experience, I'd say Echo in Grand Finals has to be way more experienced. You have to imagine Aster.y has to be on pins and needles with nerves right now. I mean, this is the first time we've ever seen a Chinese team, or honestly, I guess, any team from either China or Korea, just the East in general, play this well against Echo and really take them in a difficult series like this. I mean, the thoughts must be running wild for them right now. I'm going to favor Echo just because of the experience, like I said, but honestly, it's just going to come down to cleanliness. I don't care who has a faster time. If you're able to play clean in this dungeon, you'll take it down easily.
All right, we'll see if they're going to be able to do it. Echo's experience, Aster.y stepping up, making history for the Chinese region. Game number 3 coming in on this one with a series tied 1-1. It's Necrotic Wake.
All right, so let's take a look at that first pull here as Celia using that bubble to gather up all of the trash here, making sure he doesn't get any aggro of this one, as the Ashen is also being popped by both of the teams and the Bloodlust as well. Basically all cooldowns being committed on this huge initial pull. Neither of the teams pulling in the Tormentor though. They are first finishing off the trash, then pulling in the Tormentor whenever they are picking up that Anima Exhaust.
The initial burst damage is so much higher from Aster.y though. Their trash is already dead. They're already getting their Anima Exhaust buffs. I don't know what it is, but they're doing so much more damage overall right now. Maybe it's the Qingxin diff. This guy is a mage god and he's doing so much right now.
Yeah, it must be that diff, as you do see the boss being pretty equal though, the boss's HP. Aster.y being slightly ahead, a couple of percent. Now we do see them picking up those orbs and the Tormentor being cleaved down with that AoE from the pulsing Anima Exhaust, and then you also see them pull that extra pack here with the Harvesters. They just can be a difficult pack. You see the Drain Fluid's actually not being interrupted immediately here for Aster.y. They do want to make sure they have interrupts for that available, otherwise somebody's not going to be able to DPS while that is being channeled, and there's just so much going on this first pull. It's hard to even explain everything as they're just going through this so quickly.
And I think it's really important to mention here that it is really important. I mean, it's cool that they got the trash down faster, but they really need to make sure that they transition that trash being faster into a boss damage being faster, because, yeah, it's cool if you do all the AoE, but if you don't have the funnel for your rope, that's a big deal, and that's why Echo's able to catch up and even surpass Aster.y on boss damage here, bringing back that advantage that Aster.y gained themselves. It's just really impressive to see both of these teams play at this level. They're so close together.
Yeah, this is absolutely crazy. You can see that Echo is finishing off the boss a little bit quicker, but the trash is still there, so they have to finish that one off as well. The pull is not over until all of this trash is dead, and therefore Aster.y actually overall quicker with that pull. They did manage to kill the trash and the boss, and now they're picking up that next anima exhaust buff as they're dealing with this necromancer. Echo, I think I remember them picking up this buff here and then skipping the trash to the mini-boss. So they have a little bit of a difference in routing here.
Yeah, a little bit of a difference, right? Yeah, Echo. I remember this from yesterday. Echo does skip that necromancer. What Echo actually does in this section of the dungeon is they skip that necromancer and they make up that trash with more trash on top of the second boss here. Aster.y did a much better job this time around of cleaning up that first trash. Last time around they spent so much time finishing off that necromancer. This time around they're on Narzuda at the same time as Echo. Last time around Echo had Narzuda dead before Aster.y even started pulling it. So Aster.y playing Echo so much closer this time around, and if they're able to clean up their damage on a Marth like they weren't last time around, this could be very close.
Yeah, definitely. Echo now moving on to these Marauders, and Fragnance is going to be going on a stealth mission, going all the way to a Marth, proccing the event and also picking up the weapons on his way. He picked up the hammer there, now picking up the spear as well, using Vanish to get rid of the aggro, and now basically starting the RP. Aster.y dealing with the Marauders, and you can also see on their side the Rogue is also not here, so doing the same thing as well.
Yep, just similar strategies in general. Rogue starting the boss RP, getting back to the group with a grip from that priest should be the play here, or they can just shadow step down. That works too just fine. That works, you know, however you get back down with the group works. I mean, here's where the difference is going to come into play, though. Echo, already done with all of the trash they need, except for the packs that they're going to be pulling on top of the boss. They will be pulling that 4-pack right there with the Bone Reaver, dragging the Necromancer in, line of sighting around this pillar, and then on top of that, pulling Faruth on top of the pack. They have this spear here if they choose to use it, and if I remember properly, they do use one spear here, in addition to, I believe, an orb from now? Maybe it's no spear, maybe it's just the orb from now that's doing the damage. Looks like that's what it is, and it's helping a lot. Remember, that orb interrupts cast for the 8 seconds that it's active, so they don't have to worry too much about damage from the reanimated mages or the Necrolord going on in the group. They just have to worry about taking too much damage while they have Faruth on top of the group, and he's already dead. Perfect execution from Echo.
But look at how much damage they actually had to put into that into the trash and also into the Tormentor here. While Aster.y, they're now also on a Marth, and we know that they're basically using all of their damage onto the boss and just passively cleaving down the root. So they might be able to catch up in just a second. Keep an eye on the percentage here. There we go. Aster.y already ahead in boss damage because their pull is a little bit easier because they only have a Necromancer without the pack, and they can just full focus on Marth here. It is riskier because you have still that 50% healing reduction on everyone. You can see how hard it is to keep everyone alive, but Faruth now going down, and Aster.y a couple of percentage in the lead now.
Yep, Aster.y pulling ahead with the boss damage, really, really important for them here. And I wonder if they're going to be able to transition this into a lead early on, because, I mean, when it comes down to pure single target damage, Echo's amongst the best. They've already taken that lead that Aster.y claimed for themselves for a fleeting few seconds and already gained it back. Look at this. They've opened up a 5% boss damage lead while I've been talking.
Yeah, the one thing to note, though, is that I think the most crucial part is going to be the next pull in the Necropolis, because we've seen Aster.y do the Necropolis pull without actually committing a spear. They have only used the orb on their tank. And Echo usually commits the spear from Fragnance. And if that's going to be the case again, then that's going to make such a huge difference for the last boss, because then Aster.y is just going to have so much more damage. And keep in mind, Aster.y is also playing the Night Elf strategy. They have those triple Night Elves on their damage dealers, so that means they can delay the Exile cast so long until they can grip one of the immunity players and then just get rid of that debuff. So basically completely removing that exile. Echo cannot really do that unless they get lucky and immediately get the exile cast on Gingy.
That is true. That is going to be a big deal for them. I mean, just removing the RNG from the equation is going to be the key here. But there's still a lot of dungeon left to go. Both teams going for this massive pull. using a spear, using an orb to do as much damage as possible, make sure those casts don't get off too much, and of course the silent sigil coming out from both teams as that orb runs out and they stop interrupting mobs. Got to keep an eye on the bursting stacks, but that's also what the Shadow Priest can do since they're in this dungeon. They can mass dispel those bursting stacks. Now has 13 stacks, but it doesn't matter. He's a Demon Hunter tank. He can heal himself. He's going to be totally fine. Both teams down to the final mob from their trash pull, but Echo again finishing the pull just that much more quickly, that much more cleaner. Aster.y may be behind by just 5 or 6 seconds.
Yeah, this is so incredibly close between those two teams. Now those double assistants being dealt with, there's a little bit of an RNG factor here too with these assistants, because if the same person gets targeted by the cleaver, then you cannot use the friendly fire damage from that cleaver, from one of them at least. So you have to be a little bit lucky here to get the cleavers on different people. And it looks like Echo is not actually using the Fleshcrafter cleaver here. They're saying, you know what, double cleaver is enough, we don't need a third one. Well, Aster.y is using the Fleshcrafter cleaver here, so a little bit of a difference in strategy here.
Looks like Aster.y also has theirs polymorphed as well on the side there. So neither team's opting to try to do advanced trigonometry here. Just going to make sure they try to deal with these... Okay, they pop it out at the last second to deal with the assistant. So making sure they get at least a little bit of use out of it. And then again, just so close behind is Aster.y. Literally seconds behind Echo here. Goregrind engaged for Echo. 3 seconds, 4 seconds, and on the 5th second, Goregrind engaged for Aster.y. Teams are so close together, you cannot make a single mistake here, otherwise the other team will leave you behind.
Yeah, definitely cannot. And you can see that pull, that Goregrind pull, that's going to be the slowest pulls in the whole dungeon, because you cannot speed this one up really, because this trash bag needs to die before the next one spawns. So this is really the slowest pulls in the whole dungeon. There's probably 2 minutes out of the 12 minutes that the dungeon really lasts that they have to deal with these Goregrinds. They also have a lot of HP, but because it takes so long, it's crucial that you have the Fleshcrafter positioned properly. And it looks like they both did a really good job. In fact, Aster.y even making up some time here, I think, because they probably got more cleavers into the high HP mobs. It is difficult to get all of your cleavers into the high HP mobs because these leftovers, they're just constantly jumping around. So you need to make sure that you're controlling them whenever the cleaver is being casted.
Yeah, I mean, it's really important. And I mean, that's kind of the entire job of the mage here, right? Is to keep that Fleshcrafter polymorphed or Frost Nova off in the corner. And everyone has a tracker for when that Fleshcrafter can cast its next throw cleaver. Break it out with a Frostbolt, let it cast again. We'll see, it's a perfect POV of Xingqian doing it here. In the next couple seconds here, he's going to Frostbolt that Fleshcrafter, pop it out, let it cast another cleaver. This is all on the mages here to deal with this mob perfectly.
And there we go, the Rod Spew is down for Echo, so a little bit quicker than Aster, but last Fleshcrafter cleaver here on Aster.y's Rod Spew as well. And now Echo does engage the boss. You can see Fragrance does have another hammer here to be used, and we see one more spear on Gingy. We'll see if Gingy is going to be committing that spear onto the boss. We know that Aster.y has 2 spears left though. Aster.y has 2 spears. One of them is going to be used on that boss, and one of them going to be used on the last boss. So 1 weapon advantage here in the form of a spear in favor of Aster.y. Also, we'll see if the Shadow Melts are going to go in their favor as well in just a second whenever this boss is dead. And look at that, the boss dropping so low for Aster.y because of the weapons that they commit.
I mean, they committed a hammer too, right there. We saw Zabby using that Forgotten Forge hammer on the boss here, doing a little bit of extra burst damage here. They do gain themselves a significant advantage on the boss DPS here, but that means they don't have the weapons available for the final boss. But remember, we talked about this all dungeon. We've been harping on it because this is going to be the thing that decides the series. If Echo get that first Dark Exile on either clicks or, sorry, on either, well, if it just goes on clicks, they can't do anything. He can't grip them. If it goes on Frag or Gingy, he can grip them, and they can immune off that debuff, and they can stay in the fight. That's going to be a big deal. But look, the advantage for Aster.y after using those weapons doesn't even seem that big. Looks like Echo is just coming up with a single target damage and catching up out of nowhere. 10% boss HP is going to be the only difference after Aster.y committed so many weapons to this boss.
But they still have weapons left. Aster.y still has 1 spear. Well, Echo, I think they have a hammer maybe, but Aster.y having that spear is going to be such a crucial thing. And look at that, they're already on their way to the last boss. Aster.y having such a huge advantage now with all of the cooldowns being available. And you can see that spear, I believe it's under a mage. There we go, in a second. Oh yeah.
You can see the spear on Gingy's back as well, so I think it's even across the board.
Alright, so 2 spears. Okay. Well, look at that Aster.y now engaging the boss a couple of seconds earlier. All of the cooldowns being committed, and now it's all going to be about that Dark Exile cast. Echo now also on the boss. This is so close between the two teams.
But Aster.y finishing off Sitch Flesh so much faster. Echo's going to have to do it again. They've done it so many times in the tournament already. They did it in Spires of Ascension against Ambition. They pulled single target damage out of nowhere. They're doing it again. They started this boss 20% behind. They have pulled that to within 15%. The first Dark Exiles are going to be going out here very, very soon. Looks like ZyBB has the bop there just to deal with that. But again, Echo pulling it to within 5% here as well. Yellow taking a lot of damage, not yet proccing that cheat death. This is too close to count. It's a single target, pure DPS race, and it's going to come down to the second set of exiles here.
They got the grip on Aster.y. You can see the Rogue has the debuff and did not get exiled. He's still here. So they managed to get the grip on perfectly.
He doesn't have cloak, though.
The Rogue is going to die, though, in a second whenever that debuff runs out. But the boss might die before the debuff even runs out in the Rogue. You can see Echo is so close behind with the damage that they have on that boss. But Aster.y just a couple of seconds ahead as the boss drops lower and lower.
Aster.y down below 10% here. That Rogue is going to die in the next 15 seconds. Can they finish this off before that happens and they add the death timer to the board? It looks like it is going to happen. Now they're down below 3%, but Anuo has gone down. Their healer has gone down as well. The boss has his shield. They don't have any weapons to deal with this. They have to get their tanks up. There's no way you can deal with this with no tank alive. Rogue going down as well. This is a disaster for Aster.y in the final moments of this dungeon. They were home free and they choked at the last second. Echo, on the other hand, has cleaned it up. Everyone is alive and on the platform. The boss gained its final shield at 3%, but everybody is alive. That is key. That goes down to the second too, but the cleaver is going to finish the boss off, and you don't need a tank to finish that crafter off. What a finish. Echo takes the third game of the series and puts themselves on match point.
Oh my goodness gracious. Just when you thought Aster.y was home free, the deaths just start rolling in for the team and they're not able to recover. Echo up 1 in the series now. They're on match point like you said there. Echo rolled through and survived their own tank dying, Dratnos.
Wow, I mean, if Aster loses this series, that is going to be one that haunts them for all time. I mean, that 5% on the boss's health, they were ahead by so much, and then it just gets down to 3% and their tank dies. They just can't quite get over the finish line. What a crazy end to a game that was basically perfect from both teams up to that point. Not 100% perfect, but very, very intensive dungeon. You know, there's so many different moving parts, so many things that can go wrong, and they got just 99.99% of the way there, and it wasn't quite enough.
Wow. It really shows that there's no area to be able to relax until that dungeon is complete there. And we've seen time and time again where these dungeons can just destroy teams if you're not careful. And in particular, we don't really talk enough about Nalthor just dealing tons and tons of tank pressure. We kind of think of like a Lord Chamberlain type boss that kind of like sneaks up on you. You suddenly realize, wow, I'm just getting obliterated by the boss. And we got to go over that some more, Dratnos. That was so close for 99% of the dungeon.
Yeah, I mean, the teams were doing very similar things to each other. There's a slight difference in strategy, right? Whether you're skipping a mob right after the first boss or whether you're skipping one of these mobs, that you can see Echo has actually pulled so much into a Marth here. This is such a scary pull, but it's a great time to use those weapons, right? You just have so many targets that are useful that you can be hitting with those. Scary pull, though, nonetheless. I mean, you can see if any two mechanics basically hit somebody, that is going to be the end. Luckily, the Ashen Hallow doing a really good job of keeping everybody safe. Here's this very scary pull at the start of the Necropolis. Watch how much danger Anuo is going to end up getting in here. Very quickly, we've got 2 tenderized stacks here. Huge increase in physical damage, and that's actually going to end up being meta, Fell Devastation, and still a Last Resort proc here for Anuo. A very important cooldown. Take note of that. That will come up later. The Last Resort has been used there. That will be something that he will very much wish he had. Once we get to Surge and Sitch Flesh, the two teams are basically neck and neck, using a very similar strategy, in fact, with the boss basically in the same spot as each other, but Echo unable to push below 5% before the escape timer. The way it works, if the boss is sub 5%, it just won't escape, but if it's above 5%, it will still leap back there. That actually ends up costing them maybe 10 seconds, probably would have been the difference in this dungeon had the last boss been clean, but when we did get to that last boss, of course, that was where everything ended up falling apart. Here is how this looked from Team Aster.y Stitch Flesh. You can see landing that cleaver, just killing it straight out right before it would have escaped. And then they have this Flesh Crafter. They just keep it nice and controlled, get it in position, and then everybody, they hodge it and head upstairs so it will come and teleport with them. The boss damage, right? Take a look at the damage meters we have from the first 40% of this boss's health as well. So much damage coming out from the entirety of Team Aster. Look at the management of the Dark Exiles as well. The boss fight's so much easier if you have it casting these Dark Exiles for so long that don't actually go through. That's those shadow melds that they get access to by having so much of their team being Night Elves. Meanwhile, over on the side of Echo, they are just relying on the reflexes of the life grip instead. Here's that life grip for Aster, right? Able to make it happen. Whereas Echo doesn't even have the ability to delay with the 30 shadow melds that Aster have. And they're just out there doing it the old-fashioned way, just trying to life grip the very first cast that goes through. But again, the pressure on Uozunder here. That trinket is activated, but that trinket is dealing heavy damage even through it. Zyra, looks like you got an addition perhaps here?
I mean, yeah. Check out the major difference between the two teams here, though. Onwo doesn't have the cheat death available. That's
right,
all
exactly.
It is.
The cheat death from earlier.
Echo used the bop to reset the stacks. Aster didn't. If they reset the stacks with the bop, they would have the cheat death. They wouldn't wipe here. I mean, the pre-planning from Echo to make sure they had the cheat just in case at the last second here is what won them the dungeon.
Yeah, of course, now Dids end up dying actually at the very end. But yeah, the cleaver, if that cleaver hits, were also good. And I think maybe would have still ended up losing to this time. But yeah, I mean, the pressure here. Here you can see that Dark Exile life grip. I think, here it comes over on Gingy. And then whoop, beautiful reaction there from Echo. As they're making that same thing happen. And yeah, so like you were saying, it's those tenderized stacks downstairs, which is where they lost the... that cheat death resource. Yeah, the last resort effect. Now ends up using it right here, though, in the middle of the boss fight. So actually also doesn't have it at the end, but does get to use it in the middle of the fight. If he hadn't had that thing available, I mean, this would have wiped in a very similar way, much higher in health for Echo. So a scary boss indeed. I mean, the big thing that makes it scary is the physical damage taken increase. Those ice shards that the boss is pelting you with, you have that Sagadon debuff because you haven't pulled Sagadon, so you're taking huge extra physical damage from those ice shards, which, even though they're called ice shards, they hit you so hard it deals a lot of physical damage.
They got some gravel in there or something like that.
It's messed up. Really unethical.
It really is. You can't be mixing elements like that. But with that victory, we are going to be looking at match point for Echo in their favor. And it will be Spires as well, Nagura, that could be the final dungeon that could seal Aster's fate.
Yeah, and Spires is that dungeon where they are favored, Echo, because they've already played against each other, and Echo did win that one. And they have a lot of really clean runs. They have the 1933 clear, which is the fastest time in the tournament. So it is going to be a hard one for Aster.y to bring it back, but we know that they can do that for sure.
They can, and it could just... Oh, look at that, the costume contest winner as Nagura. I got a participation... Oh, wait. Oh, I got silver. Sorry.
Get a participation.
I don't know how I got a
go.
participation award. I didn't even try.
He got the orange shirt.
I mean, okay, listen.
I
was going to put on a Discord hoodie and then put these in the background and say I was an AWC player, but I felt that'd be a little bit too toxic.
That's a bit
I
of
couldn't find my Discord hoodie.
Okay, what percentage of the audience do you think that flies over the head of? Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people that have been to BlizzCon. There's a lot of people that have been to BlizzCon. They know.
Oh, come on. Don't remind us that we're not going to see each other this year, Zyro. Come on.
Aww.
We're all sad about that. But this isn't going to be the only bit of MDI for the year. We still got the great push as well around the corner to be able to look forward to. So keep in mind, there's a nice little extra twist. Even if you're not one of these amazing top competitors able to stand up against the best of them, you could still earn a pretty amazing in-game item, the Tormented Banner of the Opportune. All you got to be able to do is sign up for the Proving Grounds. They're going to take place between December 3rd and 6th for the Great Push Season 2. And time some dungeons with your friends, and you will be eligible, and you will receive the Tormented Banner of the Opportune. We're going to make a caster team to qualify. make sure that we get our banners, so don't forget to do yours as well. And while it will be including the standard Shadowlands dungeons, it's also going to have Legion dungeons in Court of Stars and Eye of Ashara, Nagura.
Yeah, I'm excited for Court of Stars. Eye of Ashara, well, to be honest, the crap pulls.
Yes.
I hope we're putting bolstering in there. That's all I gotta say.
Oh no!
I hope it's bolstering with the old Legion bolstering
Bolstering
rules where the neutrals bolstered off of enemies. They changed that after that expansion.
That's
but
right.
It was good then for a bit.
And the old explosive that had health scaling with keystone level as well, so they were just absolutely monstrous and took like 3 or 4 globals to kill one of them and spawn non-stop. Oh, I can't wait. Well, let's get on track. Next dungeon could be will be Spires of Ascension, and it could be match point here for Echo. They take the victory. It'd be their 3rd straight win, as they did take a victory in Spires of Ascension over Aster.y in our upper finals earlier today, Zyro. It feels like a lifetime ago almost.
It really does feel like a lifetime ago. I mean, if history repeats itself, and it often has when it comes to Echo in the MDI, I mean, Echo should take this dungeon. The question is, does Aster, as a relatively fresh team to the MDI, have the mental fortitude to come back from that loss in a dungeon which by all means they should have won, and play this dungeon without having any of those nerves or any of those feelings after just having a brutal loss at the last second like that? If these guys are able to pull out a game 4 victory in the Spires in a dungeon that Echo's already beat them on, I'd be very, very impressed.
It would be, I mean, they would definitely need to be worthy of being our MDI champions, because there are no breaks on this train. Let's get into it. Possible decider match as Echo is up 1 against Aster.y in Spires of Ascension.
All right, let's take a look at that first pool. We did see previously Aster.y has finished off this pool quite a bit quicker compared to Echo, so we'll see if they can accomplish that again. Echo takes a little while longer to gather this one up. Maybe that is the difference here as well. You can see Aster.y has gathered up everything on those stairs, and Echo gathers up everything on top of the stairs. But because all of the casters are down, it takes longer for the casters to actually get to the Goliath. So Aster.y having a little bit of a better strategy here on how they gather them up.
Yeah, a little bit different, but also the thing about it is, if you get the procs on your monk, it just doesn't matter. Look at the damage meters coming out of Aster.y. 58k DPS on the monk. Clicks only at 35k this time. Just not able to get the procs this time. I wonder what's going on for him.
And the Fire Mage diff as well, right? Aster.y playing Fire Mage in this dungeon while Echo is sticking to that Frost Mage. So Combustion being committed on that first pull. That means, though, that Combust is not going to be up for a little while here. And they also want to be committing that Bloodlust. Looks like they're waiting a little bit before they engage the boss. But there we go. Now the boss being aggroed, Bloodlust being used. The Tormentor needs to be interrupted here. That's why there's seeing the Mender on the side, because that Mender is actually inspired, and inspiring does affect the Tormentor. Actually, their healer goes down here. They do have a Battle Rush available. They have to use it immediately, and they lose their Ashen too. Ashen has just been committed right as he goes down.
ZBB and the Rogue are both incredibly low. They need to get healed up. This healer needs to be alive right now. The Cheat Death already procced for the Rogue. Their Monk is so low too. They're both dead. This has to be a reset. They have to reset this boss. But can they even get Incinerator dead? That's the pod proc for Xingqian as well. This is an absolute disaster for Aster.y. What just happened to them?
Yeah, this is horrible already from the get-go here, having such a big disadvantage. 3 deaths on the board and a reset. They lost their Bloodlust, they lost their Ashen as well. Huge cooldown disadvantage now. They can still do that same pull, I would assume. They have to finish up the Tormentor and then go back into the boss. But yeah, Echo, if they do this cleanly, they're going to be pretty substantially in the lead. And that's going to be such a big relief for Echo. As soon as they realize what happened to Aster, that then they know they just have that weight lifted off their shoulders, and they can just go through the rest of the dungeon without worrying too much. But again, any mistake on Echo's side and Aster.y can come back. And we know how difficult Spires is. There's just so many things in Spires that can kill you, so Echo definitely has to be careful still.
They still have to be careful. There's just so much dungeon left, so many mistakes to be made. But you have to remember the advantage that Echo has over most other teams right now. They've kind of adapted this from the world first race. They have that sixth man helping call shots, helping them keep their mental status in check, letting them know where the other team is in the dungeon, letting them know what they have to do next, letting them know when to use their cooldowns. Mirrors is there as that rock for the team, helping them out. And, you know, after the 2.5 or so minute delay of the stream is gone, they're going to know Aster.y has had a terrible, terrible wipe. They used their Bloodlust, they used their Ashen Wings player who went down, and they're going to be very, very far ahead, and that's going to help them so much. I mean, keep an eye on that camera. Any second now, Mirrors is going to see what happened, and you're going to see, like, probably the most happy thing Mirrors has ever been in the past year or so. The dude's going to be like, oh, dudes, we got this. This is so free. We got this. Just play safe.
Yeah,
I'm just looking for it. I want to see it.
Yeah, I'm actually also looking for it, but maybe he wants to stay cool to make sure that his team is not, you know, gonna get the game out of the head out of the game or something. So we'll see. But Mirrors is definitely checking the monitor, and he probably is aware of it right about now. It looks like there it is. There it is.
Come on.
I see the grin. I see the grin. I see it.
I have the stream live on my other monitor, the live feed. He hasn't died yet. Hasn't happened yet. I just want to see. There it is. Okay. He knows now. He knows now. They know now. There's the grin. There's the smile. They know. They know. They just have to play it safe. They know how far ahead they are. All right. Echo now knows what the deal is. They know how far ahead they are. But with the Echo that we know, do we think that they're really going to slow it down at all? These guys don't tend to do that even when they know they're ahead. These guys are still going to go with their strat. They're still going to go all in. They're going to win this in convincing fashion. That's my prediction for this game, Nikura.
Yeah, I definitely think they are not going to really slow down. And to be honest, sometimes slowing down your strategy is not even safer. We've seen it before, right? We've seen, I believe it was Ambition, no, it was Complexity actually, that slowed down their Mists dungeon because they saw that their opponents were wiping so much that they were so far behind on their end. And then they ended up making mistakes themselves, and really it cost them a lot of time because whenever you're slowing down your strategy, that means that all of a sudden your cooldowns are up in different times, you have different kind of pulls, and that's just, even if it looks easier to us, it might not be easier for them because they're just used to doing these big pulls and they have everything perfectly assigned for it. So there we go, Echo is gearing up for that huge pull on this platform, double Goliath with the rest of the Praetors and the Aether Divers. Some of the Praetors not perfectly stacked here, but there we go, the Dark Seekers into the pull, and we also do the Ring of Peace to interrupt one of the Dark Seekers here. And one of the inspired Aether Divers is still CC'd in the corner. They're gonna get it in just a second whenever they don't need to interrupt anything anymore.
Yep, they can let the Rebellious Fists go off here if they really need to. They have the healing. One of those is not going to kill your team on its own. If two of them go off, however, then we're talking about a scary scenario. But they should be able to kill both of those off before they cast that ability again. And it looks like that's going to be the case. Perfect allocation of AoE damage coming out from Echo. Aster.y not out of it just yet. There's still easily over 12 minutes of dungeon left for them to play cleanly and force Echo to have a super fast, super clean dungeon. Doing a pretty good job of it so far. Good AoE on this pack, making sure everything stayed stacked up, not having it get out of control and spread out like we were talking about earlier today with some of our other teams. Doing a good job using that Ring of Peace to keep everything stacked too as Anuo kites around the corner, but Xingqian goes down, doesn't have the pot available. He had the Alter Time active, but didn't quite proc it before taking damage. Really unfortunate. Another 5 seconds of death on the board for them. Just not what you want to see when you're already behind.
But look at Echo, they did not manage to gather up this pull into the spear. You can see one of the Praetors is not even inside the spear, just throwing Dark Seekers onto now, and some of the mobs still high HP. One of the Dark Inquisitors here, they have to kill the inspired mob to be able to interrupt the Dark Flashes, but it's not that yet. You can see the Dark Flash is not interruptible. There we go. Now the inspired mob is that, and they can finish off this pull. But yeah, a little bit of a sloppy pull here because the patrol was in like a bad timing with the patrol. Now they're going to be skipping their squad leader and they're moving on to that platform with the second boss. We do know that they're actually pulling that squad leader on that platform and then pull the rest of the trash into the boss. That is one thing that I could say they could do cleaner or like safer, right? They could theoretically finish off the squad leader and then finish the trash, then do the boss after. Because that is also a boss where they had deaths before. The first time they played Spires, they had 2 deaths on this boss, on this pull. So if they decide to do something safer and cleaner, then it should be this one, I would say.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, they could. They won't, but they could.
Yeah,
I mean,
they won't.
You know these guys too well. They're just going to go with their strat. They're not going to change anything just because they know they're 2 minutes ahead. They're not. These guys are so good at playing the game. They wouldn't do anything that would just disrespect their opponents. These guys are going to play it to the best of their ability every single time, just never going down with the strats. Aster.y is doing a good job of keeping it close after that major mistake, but it's just going to be so hard for them to come back. Doing a much better job than Echo did of keeping those mobs. There is an Inquisitor outside of the spear this time around. Excuse me, but it looks like it's going to be fine. The Ring of Peace didn't get it in, unfortunately, but the damage is still there for them.
Yeah, they killed off the Inspired mob though, so they are able to interrupt the Goliath, and they are able to interrupt the Inquisitor as well. But yeah, not 100% clean here on their side. Echo still dealing with Ventinex and that last Inquisitor that they have alive here from that trash pack that they did actually riskily pull into the boss, not pulling safe at all, as I mentioned. And then keep an eye on Gingy. Gingy is the one who takes all of the bleeds here from the boss. He still has an Ice Block available, he still has the Dwarf Rachel available. Not sure if there's a buff also on Thalia, but yeah, looking pretty safe so far.
Exactly, these guys are here to take it. I mean, and again, we talked about this early on, the fact that they were confident enough in their map pool to ban out something that wasn't Halls of Atonement. That was something that they knew was in Aster.y's wheelhouse. To essentially start this series from an almost guaranteed 0-1 position, knowing that they were confident enough in their strategies to come back and take this in the last 4 maps. I mean, these guys are on another level. Aster.y still sticking close behind, though. They are still an insane team. They're still a better team than every other team in the tournament, and they're here for a reason. They are close behind on Echo's heels. This is one of the qualities of the top-end MDI teams in all of the years of the MDI. Playing your opponent close even when you're behind, so that if your opponent makes a mistake, you are right there to capitalize.
Yeah, definitely. And you can see Echo now out of those defensives to get rid of those bleed stacks on Gingy. So now the bleeds just have to be out-healed by Thalia, making sure that he doesn't go down to that one. Aster.y, of course, now also on Ventinex. They do a little bit of a different route. They did not deal with that pack in front of this boss, so they're gonna have to do another pull after this one, where they pull Baruth with the double Helion. But the last time they did that, it was so clean for Aster.y. Let's hope they can execute it one more time, as Echo is already done though, and they are moving on to do their Orifrion pull, the very interesting pull where they pull a bunch of trash on top of the boss and a Tormentor too.
All right, this is it. I think this is one. There are 2 major pay points left in the dungeon for Echo's route. Number 1 is the pull that they are about to do, like you mentioned, pulling Execution of Aruth, plus a trash pack, plus the Usurpers onto Orifrion, the 3rd boss of the dungeon. This is where they commit their second Kyrian Spear. If they're able to pull this pull off, as well as the Triple Angel pull, all they have to deal with is just the 2 single target bosses. It is a Tyrannical 22, which can be a little bit scary, but these are not the pain points that we're used to. The bosses are generally way easier than just the massive trash pulls that you add on to them.
Yeah, and now we can take a look at Echo as they're stealthing past this trash. You can see the Shroud being used by Fragments here. Well, now did pick up that Kyrian Spear, being the only Kyrian in that group, and now they're waiting for now to come there. Also, now you can see the debuff on the party frame. That means now it did engage Baruth, while the rest of the team is waiting here. Baruth or the Tormentors in general are not aggroing any other trash packs, so this is why they can do this pull, because Baruth is actually pretty far away. And the only downside of this pull, I would say, is the travel time, right? Because Baruth does take quite a while to get here, and you can see the team is just waiting around for the pull together so they can engage the boss.
Here it is, everything's on top of each other. The Kyrian Spear is down, perfect execution so far. The spin to win is coming out from Clicks. Check the damage meters, over 100k, up to 130k. Do we have another dance at GG Proc? Do we, Clicks? Do you have it in you? Doesn't look like it, but it doesn't matter as Execution of Aruth goes down to 10%. They get 1 Carnage off, so that's going to be 1 bleed they have to worry about. Looks like they committed the bot for it, though. Use that on Gingy. You don't have to worry about that bleed. Because remember, he still doesn't have the blocks available from that previous boss where he had to use all his immunities to get rid of bleeds. So great usage of cooldowns here. They're pretty much through the worst of it. All they have to do now is pull that last pack of Usurpers on top of the boss here, get the last couple of trash percentage they need. They're probably going to wait until they get to the damage amp phase of the boss to do that, but Echo are looking good here.
Yeah, let's take one look at Aster.y's Helion pull here. They did commit the Spear, they have the Ashen as well, but they have to finish up Baruth faster, because that 50% healing reduction aura is really costly whenever you have those 2 Helian AoE pulses on the whole group. You can see how much damage everyone is taking. But there we go, Varuth is that. The Helian set as well, really clean by Aster.y. So even though they did have this one very costly mistake on that first boss, they're still playing the rest of this dungeon so cleanly. And when you think about it, the amount of time that another team might have lost from whatever happened to Aster.y there at the start, they are still just so close to Echo considering, right? So it's crazy how well they're playing here, as Echo is obviously ahead though. They're already down to 46% on the Rifrian, going through that extra damage phase, and now they're trying to basically finish off the boss before the next damage phase is happening.
Right. I mean, it's just going to be so difficult for Aster.y to actually make up all of this difference. Look at the timers at the bottom there. After the boss 1 died, Aster.y was a minute and a half behind. They made up 15 seconds or so on the second boss, which was good, but they still have to make up over a minute and a half, and that's not counting the death timers either, Nagur. They just have so much that they have to chew through. They need, in order for them to take this game and force a game 5 to decide the series, they need Echo to make some major mistake, and there's really only one place left for Echo to make that mistake, and that's going to be on the triple angel pull coming up. Echo's been perfect on it this entire tournament. This would be a very uncanny time for Echo to make a mistake they've never made before, but that's what Aster needs. Honestly, I don't think it's going to happen to Echo, but if you're an Aster fan, that's what you're hoping for here, because there's no way you're pulling out that much single target damage out of nowhere.
Yeah, they're also doing the risky pull, the risky triple angel pull though, without the spear, right? Because they already have used both of those Kyrian spears, so they will have other cooldowns available, just not that stun and the extra damage. And if you look at the cooldown, the Ashen cooldown for Salia is actually not up for another 1 minute and 20. If I were them, I might actually be waiting a little bit for the cooldowns to come back up to make sure they are safe, because as you said, that really is the last thing that can cost them this game. So waiting a couple of seconds to maybe get that cooldown back up might be a good idea. We'll see what they do, because they also don't have a lot of other cooldowns. If you look at the Rogue and Monk cooldowns, they're lacking quite a bit. So maybe waiting a couple of seconds might be the play here for Echo, because Aster.y is still, you know, dealing with the Rifrian for quite a while.
I mean, a quick breather for Echo as they ride these angels to the top. Only 2 things stand between Echo and their 4th MDI title in a row. It's this batch of angels and the boss that happens right after it. They had a nice 40 seconds there to gather their composure, sit there, get ready for this pull. The Ashen is up in 25 seconds. Do you think they're going to wait on it here? It looks like they're sitting around for a little extra time. Yeah, they're actually just straight up waiting for the Ashen to make sure nothing can go wrong. This is the smart play here. Waiting for that Ashen. It's going to be up in 10 seconds. It'll be up for all of the major damage events that happen once that debuff starts stacking up. You can see it's at 2 stacks now. Once that gets into the double digits, they'll probably start committing their immunities to remove it as well, which they have all across the board. Every single dwarf ratio is there to reset those cooldowns, so they're ready for that across the board. Here we go, Echo. Bloodlust is popped. The Ashen Wings combo is procced. It's all going to come down to whether or not they're going to be able to cleave these 3 angels efficiently.
Yeah, there we go, all eyes on Echo. See if they can execute this. Fragment's actually dropping incredibly low, using that Cloak of Shadows to get rid of those stacks, but that was a really early Cloak of Shadows actually. This pull is still going to take some time, and you can see the damage is pretty equal, but Klota's actually still pretty high and also just jumped out of the pack. So they need to make sure they're evening out the damage here. They also need to make sure they use the Touch of Death if they need it, but
perfect.
Yeah, perfect execution by Echo. No problem for them, as the only thing between them and winning that global final is going to be that last boss, Devils. There we go, immediately engaged as soon as they spawn.
The angels are gone. The only thing now between Echo and their title is this boss, a single target boss. Look across the board at what they have available. None of the DPS cooldowns are available. The dwarf racials are available if they need to remove those dots that go out on players in the boss. They might want to do that, but keep an eye on the Monk here. If the Monk is able to get one of those debuffs, you can diffuse it off onto the boss for more damage. The Karma is used as well for pure damage. Nothing is being held back from these guys. They are going all in on the single target damage on Tevos here.
Yeah, Aster.y now also on that Triple Angel pull. They also do not have a spear available for them, so they have to do this without any extra damage from that spear. They do have the Ashen and the Bloodlust and all the other cooldowns as well. They also have that Fire Mage, so the Combustion helping them a little bit at the start, but it doesn't really help them later on when they're finishing off the Angels. I would say that Frost Mage is better at the very end, while Fire Mage might be a bit better at the start to burst them down quicker. But now Aster.y looking to clean off those Angels too. And yeah, I mean, it is heartbreaking for Aster.y because they are just so incredibly good. I mean, they really showed this Globals that they are a hell of a team, and they can compete with teams like Echo. And I mean, they are the second best team. They beat so many other teams to even get here, and then just making a mistake here. And also that mistake at the very end of Necrotic Wake was just so heartbreaking. They definitely would have won that too. But yeah, Echo, I mean, time and time again, they're showing how great they can play whenever it matters.
I mean, these guys somehow always find a way to bring out the best of themselves when it matters the most. I mean, remember, they were knocked out in their group stages. They got second seed in their group match. Incarnation beat them twice, but they're still able to pull it together, practice enough to be the team that we know them to be, and come to this global finals and play this way. It's just so insane to watch a team do this again and again.
Yeah, definitely unbelievable, as they're pushing Davos to 30% in just a second to get that second intermission phase starting. You can see there's still a lot of damage coming out on this boss, on a 22 Tyrannical, also having that 50% slow and the 50% physical damage increase, but they have all the tools available to them in case something does go wrong. They have the 2 battle rests, they have all of the defenses as well, the last resort ready too for now in case something does happen. There we go, second intermission phase starts, while Aster.y is in that first intermission phase. So Echo, there we go. In just a second, they're gonna be, yeah, there we go. Second intermission now starting for Echo.
Here we go. The second and final intermission of Davos has been engaged for Echo. All they have to do now is get all 5 of these orbs, which have been nice and efficiently placed all on one side for them, bring them to the middle, pull up the mantle of that spear of the bulwark. I think Jack would like to say.
Don't miss the spear.
Don't miss the spear, exactly. They've got the spear. Davos is down, the boss is at 15%, and oh man, Echo, you can run, you can hide, you can knock them out of their group stages early on, you can ratio them on Twitter, but at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. When we get to the global finals, one team consistently plays better than everyone else in the WoW PvE scene. And Echo is going to be taking down their 4th straight MDI Global Finals victory over Aster.y.
Last bit of percent, and there it is. Echo, no deaths whatsoever, and even after multiple little breaks, make sure they have all the cooldowns, a couple little stops here and there for safety. They have an absolutely flawless run through Spires of Ascension. They are going to be our Season 2 MDI Global Champions, overcoming the best that every region has to offer. Congratulations here, Dranos, to Echo.
Very, very well played as well throughout this entire series. You know, we were talking about it, but their ability to just make sure that they're always playing every dungeon, no matter what happens. You know, even in that Necrotic Wake, where there was a time on that last boss in the Necrotic Wake where I thought they were at, 1% or less chance to win that game, but they kept it going. They kept focused, and they ended up being able to capitalize on the mistakes of Aster. And Aster, to their credit, have played a great season of MDI, getting to this point, dropping no series except against Echo. In fact, I think dropping no maps except against Echo, if I'm not mistaken, although maybe one down in the lower bracket too. I don't know. I mean, just an incredible, incredible performance from both teams. Echo, though, a well-deserved crown.